Hi everyone, it is Ashia here at Book Night with Ashia, and today we are getting into a book haul. Funny enough, this is actually going to be one of two book hauls you're going to be getting from me at the beginning of March because this is not a book mail haul. My partner gifted me a Barnes Noble gift card, and you will have seen, or depending on when this comes out, but I filmed a little bit of it for my winter vlog. So there's some, just me going into the store, but this is the actual haul, like what I ended up picking out. There's a mix of new releases, books I've read before via Libby, but that I want to add to my own collection, as well as some other books that I have not read yet, but still wanted to add to my collection. So I'm very, very excited for this haul. And before we jump in, I do want to encourage you to check out my bonfire and my Etsy shop. And if you're interested in supporting the channel on a monthly basis, you might want to consider becoming a channel member or a Patreon member. So starting out, we actually have Cleopatra by Saara El-Arifi. This is a historical fiction novel that puts the puts Cleopatra back in the driver's seat, if you will. And so it says Cleopatra tells her own story in this evocative and sensuous historical epic from the best-selling and award-winning author of Faybound and the Final Strife. You know my name, but you do not know me. Your historians call me seductress, but I was ever in love's thrall. Your playwrights speak of witchcraft, but my talents came from the gods themselves. Your poets sing of my bloodlust, but I was always protecting my children. How willfully they refuse to concede that a woman can be powerful, strategic, and divinely blessed to rule. Death will silence me no longer. This is not the story of how I died, but how I lived. Also, I just love the inside the end papers. Very, very excited. Oh, that is gorgeous. Yeah, but again, this is one of my most anticipated releases of 2026. So I'm very excited to have this in my hands. Putting that right there. And then we have one that I've actually already read, and that is Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Boulley. This is the third book in the Firekeepers series, and this one follows, what's her name? Lucy Smith. So it says, ever since Lucy Smith's father died 5 years ago, home has been more of an idea than a place. She knows being on the run is better than anything waiting for her as ward of the state. But when the sharp-eyed and kind Mr. Jameson, a man with an interest in her case, comes looking for her, Lucy wonders if hiding from her past will ever truly keep her safe. 5 years in the foster system have taught her to be cautious and smart. But she wants to believe Mr. Jameson and his friend not friend, a tall and fierce-looking woman, when they say they want to be a part of her life. They also tell Lucy the truth her father hid from her. She is Ojibwe. She has had a sister, and she has more siblings, a grandmother who look after her, and a home where she would be loved. But Lucy is being followed. As her secrets starting to swallow her whole, Lucy must decide what she's willing to give to protect the only love she has left. This was a 5-star read for me, like absolutely excellent. Loved this book, and I'm so excited to have it on my shelves. Next up, we actually have a nonfiction book, and this is one that I feel like most people know about and have heard, and that is 107 Days by Kamala Harris. This is VP Harris's account of her whirlwind of a campaign for the 2024 election. So I'm looking forward to this. And then this is a picture. It says day one of 107 days, because that's how long she had until the election, when she found out that she would be be running. I'm ready. I'm very excited. So yeah, the next book I have is a Black classic that I recently learned about, and I was so excited to see this just like in Barnes and Noble in their like Black History Month or Black Voices section. And I also really love the cover, and that is Not Without Laughter by Langston Hughes. And it says, originally published in 1930, Not Without Laughter is an award-winning debut novel of literary giant Langston Hughes. Already an accomplished poet and prominent figure of the Harlem Renaissance, Hughes cements himself as one of the most versatile and talented authors in modern literature with the publication of this poignant work. Not Without Laughter follows Sandy Rogers, a Black boy coming of age in rural Kansas while facing the harsh realities of poverty, racial segregation, and the onset of World War I. Orbiting Sandy are a host of vividly realized family members who each play a vital role in his journey of self actualization, including his mother Angie, a domestic worker, his semi absent father Jimboy, his aunts blues singing Aunt Harriet and social climbing Aunt Tempe, and his pious grandmother Hager, who holds the generations together. A personal and semi autobiographical depiction of Langston Hughes' early life in the Midwest, Not Without Laughter is a sweeping portrait of race in America after the failure of the Reconstruction era. From a writer praised as a titanic figure in 20th century American literature, this elegiac, interesting, I've never seen that word, yet ultimately inspiring family drama embodies the hope and perseverance of the Black community that still resonates in society today. Next up, we have Coffeeshop in an alternate universe. When Brenda's internet goes out right before an important scholarship deadline, she stumbles into Kat's family's coffee shop. Brenda is swept away by cool, confident Kat, who actually cares about Brenda's 19-step plan to save the world through science. Meanwhile, Kat can't stop thinking about Brenda, who is smart, passionate, and doesn't seem to care that Kat is the prophesized chosen one. The only problem, Kat and Brenda are from different universes, like need to find a portal to go on a second date, different universes. As their realities collide and things spiral out of control, can a girl determined to save the world find love with a girl determined to outrun her destiny? And I just realized that the back is actually them holding the same cup of coffee. That's so cute. Next up, we have one of my most anticipated sequels of 2000. Oh my gosh, of 2026, and that is To Ride a Rising Storm. This is a sequel to Shape a Dragon's Breath, which I've talked about so many different times. I have a book review video, and I just really love the first book. This one follows Anacus, who is well, first of all, it takes place in this like alternative steampunk universe back in like colonial-esque times, and Anacus's people believe that being able to communicate or find a bond with the dragon is something special, and that's very different from the very Anglo way of thinking of the colonizers that are essentially like kind of taking over. And so she actually bonds with the dragon. And in order to protect herself, her people, and her dragon, she ends up going to this dragon school that the colonizers have like put up. And there's political intrigue, there's romance, and I am so, so excited to see what happens next in this sequel. Then, funny enough, we have another sequel, and I've actually already read this, and this is And So I Roar by Abi Daré, and this is a sequel to The Girl with the Louding Voice, and I absolutely loved this book, hence why I wanted to get a physical copy for my shelves. And so in The Girl with the Louding Voice, we follow, what's her name? We follow Aduni, and Aduni, she is she wants to learn, like that was her main goal, but she is essentially sold into marriage by her father to pay for some debts, and we are following her life as she is determined to learn and go to school and outrun her circumstances. And this is a continuation of The Girl with the Louding Voice after the events of that book conclude, and we follow her journey after that. So very, very excited to have a physical copy of this one. Then we have another sequel, and this is actually the third book in the series. I have the first two. I read the first one, and the second one, The Faithless, is actually on my 26 and 26, and that is The Sovereign by C.L. Clark. The first book is The Unbroken, the second one is The Faithless, and then we have the third, and I believe final book in the trilogy, The Sovereign. And this one has a lot of political intrigue. It's fantasy. There is a sapphic romance, and there's an army, and there's a princess who's trying to like reclaim her throne. And I'm looking forward to seeing, well, first of all, reading the second book, and then eventually seeing how it ends. And I just love this cover. I love the red. Like it really just pulls it all together. Then the next book we have is actually a book that's been on my radar for a bit because one of my best friends read it and they absolutely loved it. And that is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. And it says Cyrus Shams is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss. His mother's plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident, and his father's life in America was circumscribed by his work killing chickens at a factory farm in the Midwest. Cyrus is a drunk, an addict, and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him to examine the mysteries of his past, toward an uncle who rode through Iranian battlefields dressed as the angel of death to inspire and comfort the dying, and toward his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests she may not have been who or what she seemed. Kaveh Akbar's Martyr is a paean to how we spend our lives seeking meaning in faith, art, ourselves, and others. So also really happy to finally have this on my shelf so I can read it and discuss with my bestie. Then we have Your Utopia Stories by Bora Chung, translated by Anton Her. And it says, from the author and translator of Cursed Bunny, a finalist for the National Book Award and shortlisted for the Booker International Prize, these chilling news stories will crawl under your skin and change the way you see the most mundane object and everyday interactions. Ugh. Bora Chung's inimitable blend of horror, absurdity, and dark humor reaches its peaks in these tales of loss and discovery, dystopia and idealism, death and immortality. In a thrilling translation by the acclaimed Anton Her, readers will experience a variety of possible fates for humanity, with total demise via a disease whose only symptom is casual cannibalism, to a world in which even dreams can be monitored and used to convict people of crimes. Ugh, okay. In the Center for Immortality Research, a low level employee runs herself ragged, planning a fancy gala for donors, only to be blamed for the chaos that ensues during the event in front of the mysterious celebrity benefactors hoping to live forever. In A Song for Sleep, an AI elevator in an apartment complex develops a tender, one sided love for an elderly resident. Seed traverses the final frontier of capitalism's destruction of the planet, but nature always creeps back to life. If you haven't yet experienced the fruits of Chung's singular imagination, your utopia is waiting. Also, the cover is just really fun. The next two books we have are actually part of a series, and I have read them already. Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega, and then the second book in the Witchling series, which is the Golden Frog Games. And Witchlings follows Seven Salazar. She lives in this society where I believe you turn 12 or something. But yeah, in the magical town of Ravenscale, young witchlings participate in the Black Moon ceremony. They're placed in the coverings and come into their powers as full-fledged witches. Seven thinks that she's going to be placed in House Hyacinth, and she is not. She's actually deemed a spare, and they are outcasts in society. So her and two other girls, what are their names? They're not going to tell me their names. Valley Pepperhorn and Thorn LaRoe. They are spares, and so they are trying to prove to people that they're more than spare witches, and they invoke this like quest type thing in order to prove that. And I absolutely loved this book, and I loved honestly, they just get better and better. We're already up to the fourth book, and the fifth book I believe comes out sometime this year, so I'm excited to get books 3 and 4, and then also read book 5 when it comes out. And then the last book is another one that I have been anticipating for a while, and that is Will Prescribe You Another Cat by Syuo Ishida, translated by Madison Shimoda. This is a sequel to Will Prescribe You a Cat, which I absolutely loved and found by accident last February, and I'm excited. So it says it's time to visit the Kokoro Clinic for the Soul. And basically, this is a clinic where people end up finding themselves there. Like they're not trying to go there, they just end up finding themselves there. And they talk to this doctor and they tell them like their problems, and the doctor's like, well, I have this cat here for you. Take it home for a week and let's see what happens. And it's just celebrating the magical experience that is living and caring for cats as beings. And so I guess these people already have a cat, so they're just getting another cat. I don't know, but it follows different people and they're all connected like somehow. But yeah, really looking forward to having this and reading it sometime this year. And that is it. Those are the books in this haul, essentially this gifted haul. Because I was gifted a gift card. And yeah, let me know. Have you heard of any of these books? Are any of them already on your radar? Which one should I start with? Have you read any of them yet? And make sure to check out my bonfire and my Etsy shop to get yourself some merch and some bookmarks. And if you're interested in supporting the channel on a monthly basis, you might want to consider becoming a channel member or a Patreon member. And I will see you in another video. Bye. Ow.
Showing. I ain't living for the moment. I see what's mine and I want it. Hungry like a Pac-Man. I'm Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm Naruto with a Hanzo. Got a sharp mind like I'm Einstein. Plus I'm copywriting, so it's all mine. Check it for me.